Good afternoon. Beforehand, I would like to thank the organizers of this event for the opportunity of sharing the education work that we do at the photo gallery that we have in our museum in Brazil. In the education area of this photo gallery, of the picture gallery, we have work. We carry out work with groups of visitors, with students, teachers, and middle-class families. But we have also been carrying out some work in order to vary the profile of visitors, carrying out actions with less privileged groups who are not traditionally visiting museums, such as people with disability, people with social vulnerability, the elderly, and the staff members of the museum. Part of the work we did last year ended up in this book, which is cultural interaction between museum and museum staff and educators. And this will be passed on over to you. This book you will be able to have a look at. We have assessed the results of 11 years of a course, training course for the staff members of the museum. This course is called Multiplicating Actions, Museum and Socio-Cultural Inclusion. The target audience is social educators and public or private organizations who develop educational projects with people in with vulnerable social situations, immigrants, transgender communities, people with disability, and so on. The idea is to offer resources for the creation, execution of educational projects in art and culture directed to these groups, with intention of allowing them to have more participation. This is done once a year since 2005 to today, and it has 50 hours per week and 17 weekly classes or lessons. We had this survey, evaluation survey or assessment survey, and it's part of this book. This had 11 of these courses, and we had 306 social educators, and we carried out 225 educational projects. The survey had 4 great results and analysis. The first one is related to the profile of these educators who participated. The second one is the profile of the social organizations. The third one is basically an analysis of the educational projects elaborated or created by them. The fourth result, or group of results, is basically the impact of the course in terms of conception on art and culture, learning about the access, the role of the museum in different cultural spaces in the city, changes in the socio-educational practices in the public that attended the courses, and changes in institutional practices. Now I just show you a selection of the results. These talk about the profiles. Firstly, the social educators that participated. The first one said that most of them are women, ages between 20 and 40, and with her tertiary education completed. Most of them come from the socials, from this humanities area. The profile of the organizations, most of them are civil society organizations, and most of them work in social assistance. This is something that serves a comment. Normally in Brazilian models, most of our collaborators belong to formal education area. That means schools. So with this course, we have managed to establish or to have a continuous dialogue with organizations, civil organizations, and groups of people who normally a school doesn't reach, and who do not normally visit museums, especially art museums like ours. And lastly, the target audience of these social organizations, most of them most of them young people or adults in vulnerable situations, social vulnerability situations. We should highlight here that the groups with whom these educators work are not mainly children, which also changes the idea of museum education being directed towards children. Okay, some of the results of the impact of the course. The main effects are perceived in these social educators who participated after the course. They managed to relate to culture and art in a more qualified way, changing the previous perception on the museum and now identifying it as a place for everybody. Though most of those social educators did not frequently visit museums, and most of them had prejudices on them as a very elitist place and far away from a majority of population, especially the poorest. After the course, most of them started being visitors and started looking for different cultural places as collaborators. The perceived results show that they strengthen their personal identities and their social links. And they also became more interested in art and culture. We should also mention the, the different aspects that are not normally perceived in museums. And in terms of the social organizations, this is the most difficult result because of many variables that are not controlled by the educator. Most of them achieved that the organizations actually respected more their work as social educators. What they learned was multiplied by the different professionals of the organization, and they started the organizations started investing in different social cultural infrastructures. And just to give a human face to this data, basically, I will just bring the testimony of one of the participants from the course. It's one of the several testimonies. And she was a participant from 2014, and she said that in the group of participants, there was a psychologist who worked with people, with homeless people, and she was saying that how she was managing to perfect or to build a better communication with that group of people, collaborating with the picture gallery, something that's considered as useless as art. It actually allows you to create links and create relationships and allows you to connect with other human beings, and that's extremely special. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now we're going to travel from